All right, let's get into it. We're going to break down a metric that absolutely keeps business leaders up at night: customer churn. For a long time, it's been this silent killer for any subscription business. But the whole conversation around it is starting to change, and in a big way.
And if you want to know just how serious this can get, look no further than Salesforce. Yeah, even a giant like them was once in what their own team called a death spiral. And why? An 8% monthly churn rate. Think about that for a second. It was such a threat to their existence that it forced them to completely rethink how they dealt with their customers.
So what exactly is this thing that caused so much chaos? Well, at its core, customer churn, sometimes called attrition, is just the rate at which you lose customers. It's the ultimate leaky bucket problem, right? For any business that relies on that recurring revenue, it's everything.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, an 8% monthly churn, that must have been a unique problem for Salesforce back in the day. But here's the thing. A recent analysis found that the average monthly churn rate across the entire business sector is a whopping 6.58%. And this is where it gets kind of scary. That's 6.58% a month. It compounds. It doesn't mean you lose a little over 6% of your customers in a year. No. It means you're on a path to lose over 65% of your entire customer base. Just try to imagine the insane pressure that puts on your sales and marketing teams just to tread water, let alone actually grow.
But this is where the story gets really interesting. The most innovative companies out there, they're not treating churn as their one and only North Star anymore. Something big is shifting in their strategy.
In fact, look at this. A recent poll of customer success professionals, the people on the front lines, it revealed something pretty amazing. Their top goals now are all about increasing product adoption and growing revenue. Things like gross and net revenue retention. Lowering customer churn has actually dropped to third place. So what gives?
Well, what the experts are saying is that this shows the whole industry is growing up. It's a huge strategic pivot from being reactive, waiting for a customer to complain, to being proactive. They're moving upstream to fix problems before they even become problems.
And here's the critical insight. The focus is shifting from just preventing loss to actively creating value. See, churn is a lagging indicator. It tells you what already went wrong. But when you focus on things like adoption and expansion, you're making sure your customers are winning, which makes them way less likely to ever leave.
So let's get into this new playbook and see how it builds out a modern, truly customer-focused strategy. It's not about fighting fires anymore. It's about designing success right from the very beginning.
And honestly, the data couldn't be clearer about why this proactive approach is so important. Almost half of all the customers who decide to leave do it for one simple reason. They didn't get what they came for. The product didn't actually help them achieve their goals.
And to fight this, the best teams are using what's called a value realization framework. It's basically a roadmap. It guides customers through these 5 key stages, from figuring out what success even looks like to them, to actually delivering on it, and then making it even better over time. The whole point is to make sure that aha moment happens and then keeps on happening.
This also shines a light on the 2 different kinds of churn you have to deal with. All these proactive strategies we're talking about, they're for fighting voluntary churn. But then you have involuntary churn. Simple stuff like a credit card expiring. And that requires a completely different playbook, one that's much more automated.
But here's the catch. A proactive strategy is great, but it only works if the whole company is on board, especially the leadership. Your customer success team can't do this alone in a silo. They need budget, they need resources, and they need buy-in from the top.
And how do you get that buy-in? You have to learn to speak the language of the business. I love this quote because it's so direct. It's not a happiness team, it's a revenue team. And that means you have to translate all those customer needs into a solid, data-driven business case that your CFO will actually listen to.
So, how do you actually do that? Well, one really smart way is to compare a top-down financial goal, like a CFO saying, every customer success manager, or CSM, should handle $2 million in revenue, with a bottom-up analysis of what the work actually takes. So the benchmark might say, one person can handle 80 customers. But when you map it out, the reality is they can only properly serve 38. That gap forces a really important conversation about what's actually possible.
Okay, so even with the perfect strategy, some customers are still going to leave. It happens. Churn is never going to be 0. And the way you handle that moment, well, it's critically important.
Dealing with a cancellation request the right way isn't just about good manners. It's a strategic goldmine. When you follow these steps, from really digging into the why
to making sure you keep the door open, you get priceless feedback that can help you prevent the next customer from leaving. And who knows, you might even win that customer back down the road.
And really, this all leads us to the most powerful idea in this whole new way of thinking. The goal isn't just to make a number on a spreadsheet go down. The real goal is to create advocates. Because when you focus on making your customers truly successful and, yeah, making them love you, things like retention and growth stop being things you have to chase. They just become the natural results.
So that leaves us with one last really important question for you to think about in your own business. Are you stuck in that reactive loop, always putting out the fires of churn? Or are you proactively building relationships and creating advocates who are going to be the engine of your growth for years to come? The answer to that really will define your future.